Washington, this is VOA News. President Obama reacts to the Republican big midterm election victories. Ukraine stops sending the money to rebel-held regions. I'm Ray Kouguell reporting from Washington. President Obama and the leader of the new Republican majority in the Senate are pledging to cooperate in passing legislation, while conceding they are not always going to reach agreement. A day after Republicans won control of the Senate and increased their hold in the House of Representatives, Mr. Obama said Wednesday he is certain there are some issues the Republicans and Democrats can work out.
If there are ideas that the Republicans have, I have confidence will make things better for ordinary Americans. The fact that the Republicans suggesting it as opposed to a Democrat, that'll be irrelevant to me. I want to just see what works.
Meanwhile, the presumptive Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky says one message of the election is that a politically divided government need not result in continued gridlock in Washington.
In Washington, I think there are a lot of people who believe that just because you have divided government, it doesn't mean you don't accomplish anything.
Senator McConnell says he will work with President Obama to approve key legislation on international trade pacts and tax reform. President Obama also, at that news conference, says the United States and its P5+1 allies have handed Iran a framework for a nuclear agreement, but says it will be weeks before anyone knows if there will be a deal. Mr. Obama says the deal would let Iran meet its peaceful energy needs. President Obama is calling it a progressive, step-by-step verifiable way for Iran to get out from under crippling sanctions and rejoin the international community. This is VOA News. A delegation of West African leaders is in Burkina Faso trying to defuse a political crisis set off by the departure of longtime President Blaise Compaoré. A VOA reporter on the scene says the heads of state from Ghana, Nigeria, and Senegal arrived in Ouagadougou Wednesday to ask politicians, religious leaders, and civil society groups to each name 3 candidates to lead a transitional government. Ukraine will be halting the government funding to those areas of its eastern regions controlled by Russian-backed separatists. Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk says the cutoff of funding to parts of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions will go on as long as they are held by who he describes as terrorists. The self-declared breakaway regions defied Ukraine by holding elections last Sunday, meant to assert their autonomy from Kiev. A Palestinian man rammed a car into a crowded commuter rail platform in Jerusalem Wednesday, killing 1 person and injuring at least 9 others. Israeli police shot and killed the driver. VOA's Scott Bobb reports.
The attack occurred midday at a station on Jerusalem's light railway near the Old City. Police said the motorist, whom they identified as a Palestinian man, drove a car into the crowd. An amateur video showed he was shot to death after he got out of the vehicle and began attacking police cars with a metal bar. The Israeli Minister of Internal Security, Yitzhak Aharonovich, spoke to the media shortly after arriving on the scene. He said there are injured, some of them seriously, and they are at the hospital receiving treatment. He said this is the second attack near the light rail, and police have spread throughout the city, especially in Arab neighborhoods. Scott Bobb, VOA News, Jerusalem.
Well-placed sources tell VOA the health of detained Iranian-American journalist Jason Rezaian has deteriorated in the past few weeks. Rezaian has been detained in Iran since July when he, his wife, and 2 other American journalists were taken into custody in Iran. No formal charges have ever been announced against them. Rezaian's wife, a correspondent for the Abu Dhabi-based newspaper The National, was freed on bail about 5 weeks ago for reasons never made public. Police in Pakistan have arrested at least 44 people in connection with the killing of a Christian couple who are accused of desecrating a Quran. It took place in a town about 60 kilometers southwest of Lahore. Police say the man and his wife were beaten to death by an angry mob, and then their bodies were burned. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif called the murder an unacceptable crime that a responsible state cannot tolerate. I'm Ray Kouguell in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.